Here's Dominic Carter on Talk Radio 77 W.
So many issues to get to. And the first one we discussed a little bit on Friday. And it's dead wrong to do so in this regard. If you want to protest the possible overturning of Roe v. Wade, that's fine. That's fine. I'm stating that as someone that is pro-choice. But don't do it at the homes of Supreme Court judges. And that is exactly what happened. Pro-choice activists protested Saturday evening outside the homes of Supreme Court Justices Brett Kavanaugh and John Roberts, days after the unprecedented leak of the draft opinion revealed the country's highest court plans to overturn Roe v. Wade. It's just not the nice thing to do. I'm not naive. I understand modern day politics, but let's leave the protesting at their place of work, the Supreme Court. If you protest at the Supreme Court, knock yourself out. Do it 24 hours a day. But to make it this personal and go to the homes of Supreme Court justices, it's just not the right thing to do. And so I'll also give you my 2 cents on this Ed Koch story in the New York Times, page 1, Sunday edition, above the fold. In terms of this, I think the headline was "The Secrets of Ed Koch," discussing whether or not he was gay. And I think when it comes to journalists, I've had the longest relationship with Ed Koch, professional relationship, of any journalist that's out there, and off my recent memory. And we never once discussed his sexual orientation. I'm talking about private conversations that I had with the mayor of New York. I'm talking about times when he had me over to his residence. And I'm talking about times when we were together for about 10 years on New York One, hosting the Wise Guys. Now, there are certain things that I would never comment about publicly as it relates to the former mayor, because he was a good friend of mine. And I could depend on him. I could depend on Ed Koch in good or bad. That's the type of guy that Ed Koch was. And so we're taking your telephone calls, 1-800-848-WABC, 800-848-9222. And I want you to hear a little bit of how the protest, before I get to the other stories, of how the protest sounded outside Justice Kavanaugh's home.
We will not go back. I see you, buddy. We will not go back. We will not go back. We will not go back. We will not go back.
And so imagine that on Saturday evening. You're at home, you're with your family, you may be with your children, and for you and your neighbors, that's what you had to deal with. One of the protesters had this to say.
Such a high stakes situation that if, it's a little bit noisy in the neighborhood, in comparison to what women in this country are facing, it's really not a big deal.
Not a big deal. I agree that Roe v. Wade is a very important decision. And again, I'm pro-choice, but if you listen carefully to what the woman just said, yes, it'll be loud. Yes, it's at the justices' homes, but it's justified. I don't think it's justified. Second story we are dealing with this morning, no matter what you think of the current administration in Washington give First Lady Jill Biden credit for visiting Ukraine. The First Lady spent part of Mother's Day making an unannounced visit to Ukraine and a small city in the far southwestern corner of Ukraine, a country that for the last 10 weeks has been under invasion by Russia. Now, the meeting occurred between the First Lady of the United States and the First Lady of Ukraine at a converted school that now serves as a temporary housing facility for displaced citizens. And the First Lady of America met with the First Lady of Ukraine, who has not been in public since the start of the war on February 24th. And here's what First Lady Jill Biden, that is, had to say.
That this war has to stop. And this war has been brutal. And that the people of the United States stand with the people of Ukraine. You feel it.
And the people of the United States do stand with the people of Ukraine. And I think the next step is President Biden. I understand all the security risk, but President Biden should make the trip himself. Another story that I'm dealing with this morning, and I really want your help on this one because I'm conflicted every time you and I discuss COVID. So Governor Hochul, the governor of New York State, Kathy Hochul, has announced that she has COVID-19. She's not experiencing symptoms, according to the governor, but she is going to isolate and so on and work out of, I guess, the governor's mansion for the next couple of days. So what I want to talk to you folks about is a flashpoint of where you think we stand right now with COVID. I'm not trying to minimize COVID because people are still dying, but is this something, and these are the thoughts that just cross my mind, is this something that's going to amount to, and I'm not trying to minimize this, folks, to almost like having the cold? And we hope and pray that, that it doesn't get much more severe on an individual basis. Is this something that all Americans are going to have to deal with?
First of all, remember, 99% of the people that call here are from the right, are Republicans, and I'm literally George Custer, the little bighorn, if you know what I'm talking about. So the point first of all, the main point is this. Let's talk about the first subject. Mayor Koch. Who cares what anybody thinks? He's dead. Let him rest. He did a great job while he was here. There's people concerning about whether he was gay. Who cares? Does it make a difference anymore? Is this what we're interested in?
I'm with you. I'm really with you on that.
He paid his dues. He did what he could for the city. Well, let him alone. He's dead. As all you can do is be scavengers and pick on the dead. You ain't too smart to begin with. That's the first thing. The second thing is, Dominic, you're still concerned about COVID.
Yes, I am.
I know. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead, Stan.
I guess you're still hesitant about the next booster shot. I understand. With the governor getting it. Okay, the governor sees a lot of people. Bum. We know that.
Right.
But we also know that this is not going away. This illness, this situation is not going away. It'll come back, and it'll come back till there's a cure. And I've talked about this before. Somebody has to come up with it. It'll either be Pfizer or Moderna or both. But we're going to have to live with it. And it is not the flu, and it is not the common cold. Ask the million people who died from it. I don't think they'll say it's the common cold. And whether you're still hesitant, and I hope you get that fourth shot, the booster, please, Normally I don't beg, but I'm begging because you're a good guy. We fight and argue on politics, but get the shot. I think your wife, I don't know if your wife has pushed you to do it, or she said, but
She
get
is.
it. Okay, I love her. Good for her. Go get them. And that part of it is important. And so we're going to have to live with it till there's a cure. Those that don't want to live with it, don't want to deal in reality, that's their problem. They want to die, let them die. They want to suffer, let them suffer. Freedom is a wonderful thing, but I can't put the cough syrup in the throat and say swallow it. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Right.
The third thing is the president going to
The First Lady.
Yeah, she didn't. They snuck her in, and what they have to do because of security, sneak her in. Will the president might surprise us and go there? I don't think it's necessary that he does go. As you said, symbolism is important, but I don't think it's necessary. I think right now I'd like to know more about Mr. Putin's cancer. Is it terminal? Is it the surgery he had? What was it? Because if it's terminal, Happy New Year. We can all celebrate. But in this case, I'd like to know what this. And this other guy who took over seems to be more like Rasputin. Supposedly he's worse, so we'll see. But those are the three things I wanted to talk about.
Well,
and I'll have you have a great week.
I'm still trying to figure out how this is going to work. So you have people that pay their fares come through the front. And so I believe my interpretation of the email is that if you press to open a door, the rear door or the middle door, it may open. But can you imagine the lines to get on the bus if they do not? And this is all to deter fare evasion. Perhaps a good thing, but it's being done at the expense of the consumer. And you've already got a lot of money to make up for the MTA. So I don't know necessarily if this is the way to do it. I mentioned we're going right back to the telephone calls. Jennifer in Boston, good morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Dominic. It's always so good to hear you. The nights aren't the same without you. I miss it when you're not home.
Thank you very much, Jennifer.
And I know Dolce and your wife have more time with you, so I'm sure they're happy.
Hey, wait, Jennifer. Wait. You mentioned my dog. Wait. I want to ask you a question. So I've and maybe you know more about dogs than I do, but I've been kind of down lately, right? I've said to you when you've called that my beloved Dolce is an old man. And I don't know my Maltese dog. I don't know how much longer he has to go, and it's breaking my heart, right? So now he sleeps a lot, but he can't the wood floors in our house. He's having a hard time with his legs are like slipping under him, and so my wife thought it was because his legs were weak because he's a senior citizen and has arthritis. But it just hit me tonight that maybe I need to have his nails clipped. Do you know anything about that?
Yep, I would suggest both if possible, because I'll tell you this. I went over this with my doctor recently. My dog's, he's 7.5 months into his 13th year. You know what I mean? He'll be 13, God willing, in September. So I noticed when he's waiting at the door for me in the kitchen, it's a tile floor.
Yes.
And one of his rear legs and the other will continually start to slide out under him, slide out under him.
Yes.
And the dogs really do struggle at any age, especially if they're moving quickly with or walking on tile in wood, but especially as they're older and their nails, if they're too long, they can't grip. You can even just call it, ask the technician at your vet or whatever, but it is harder for them when they're older because they don't have the leg strength. The vet was explaining it to me. He said it's very normal because I was wondering if he was getting some sort of a nerve, you know what I mean? Like something was going on, and he said it's very normal. But it is good to be able to help them because it is sad to see, as you know it. But believe me, I feel for you when you talk about it.
And Jennifer, I'm going to let you have your say now, but that shows how comfortable I am with you because I've really been down about my dog, and I'm like. And I'm like, come on, man. Part of me says, man up. You're a man, But I'm like, but that's my buddy. That's my dog. And so anyway.
Believe me, they're the best. They're the best friends you could ever have. Mine's losing his vision.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it sucks, but we love them to bits, and they give us all they have, and we're blessed to have them, and hopefully they feel blessed to have us back. So, anyways, real quick, regarding the protest, it's horrible. To me, it's unthinkable that they're doing this at people's homes. It doesn't surprise me, but I think it's unconscionable. But worse than that was what they did at the Catholic churches around the country, St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. I just think, like I said, people, God help us. God help this country, Dominic. We're in a bad place. We're in a bad place because this isn't about safe but rare. I know people when I was younger, much less. Look at Letitia James. Why should you shout your abortion and have people clap for you? What's honorable about that? What is distinguishable about that you've done a great thing?